In the beautiful and peaceful Kingdom of Idumon, where tradition was sacred and bloodlines were never to be crossed, there lived King Gbigbi, a wise and powerful ruler of the land. His people loved and respected him, for under his reign, the land flourished beyond measures. King Gbigbi had a beautiful wife, Queen Ajuno, a very decent and honest woman. Beyond the riches of the Kingdom of Idumon, King Gbigbi's greatest treasures were his two children, Prince Ikiki and Princess Okoko. They were not twins, but they were close in age, close in bond, and closer than they should have ever been. Prince Ikiki and Princess Okoko grew up within the walls of the Grand Palace, never mingling with other children in the village. They remained in the palace from sunrise to sunset. They played together, ate together, and learned under the same teachers. The bond between them grew stronger than anyone could imagine. At first, it was innocent, but as the years passed, Princess Okoko began to feel something dangerous in her heart, a forbidden desire for her own brother. Prince Ikiki sensed something was wrong and tried every means to discourage her, but she persisted. He avoided her as much as possible, dismissed her longing stares and strange words, but Princess Okoko never gave up. She dressed seductively before him. She whispered sweet words into his ears and always found ways to be close to him. Prince Ikiki became uneasy with her actions, but she never relented. One evening, as they sat beside the fire, Princess Okoko leaned in and whispered, "Do you ever think about me differently?" Prince Ikiki wasn't surprised. From her recent actions, he knew she would definitely come up with such conversation someday. "You are my sister," said the prince. "I know," she said, her eyes glowing, "but sometimes it seems you are more than a brother to me." She drew closer to him, but he pulled away, shaking his head. "This is wrong. The gods forbid it. Our people would burn us alive if they ever found that." But her longing gaze never stopped. The evil desire persisted. "They will never find that unless you tell them," she said, without knowing that the gods are always watching. Prince Ikiki avoided her as much as possible, but she never gave up. One night, when the moon was high, the palace was asleep, but the gods were awake. Princess Okoko crept into Prince Ikiki's chamber. The prince, who was sleeping, was woken up by the gentle touch of the princess. He jumped up from his bed because he thought it was a ghost. "Be quiet," whispered Princess Okoko. "Everybody's asleep." "You shouldn't be here by this time of the night," the prince said. "Stop acting like a baby," continued the princess. "Remember, I'm your only sister, and you said you'd do anything for me." "Yes, I remember. And that's why we can do what you desire. It's against our tradition," he said, trying to convince her, but she wasn't ready to be convinced. "What kind of tradition are you talking about?" she inquired while advancing towards him, but he withdrew from her. "Is it the tradition that will stop people from doing things that will give them pleasure?" "It's a tradition that stops people from doing things that will lead the entire village to doom," explained the prince. Fortunately, Prince Ikiki escaped her evil desire that night, but the next time she attempted, she didn't miss her target. She succeeded. She finally lured him into committing a grievous sin in the sight of men and before the gods. The princess was so excited because from that moment, there was no going back. The forbidden relationship continued a secret, hidden behind the golden walls of the palace. No one knew, no one suspected, but the gods were watching. The days passed, and so did the nights. Their secret bond held behind closed doors, and the house began to feel smaller, but they continued until the day their mother caught them in the dangerous act. It was a cold afternoon. The wind was still, the air was thick. They were alone in the room when their mother walked in. Behold, what she saw that day shattered her soul. She screamed the moment she saw them. "What is this? Do you know what you have done? Do you know the shame? Do you realize the curse?" She cried, but the deed had already been done. Her eyes were filled with tears, but to protect her children and to save the entire family from shame, she told no one about it, not even their father. Weeks later, the queen fell ill. First, it was a mild fever. Then she couldn't stand. She became very weak. Her eyes grew hollow and her voice became faint. Just as the village healers were trying to heal the queen, Prince Ikiki fell ill too. He grew weaker by the hour. He couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep, and he was in so much pain. Princess Okoko broke down in tears, but her tears could neither heal the prince nor the queen. Different village healers tried to help, but their effort yielded no result. Attempts were made by the greatest warriors, the wisest elders, the most powerful medicine men, but none could remedy the ugly situation. The queen remained sick as well as the prince. The villagers started gossiping. Some people said it was a spiritual illness. Some whispered about a family curse. But the walls of the palace knew the truth, the secrets that should have never lived. The palace became very quiet. Its walls were silent. Its windows wept with the morning dew, and its darkness persisted even in the midst of the bright sun. Prince Ikiki laid on his sick bed, shivering like a leaf in the storm. His body was hot with fever, but his soul felt so cold. He knew something had left him, something he couldn't explain, something that could cost him his life. His heart was full of regret, but regret alone couldn't restore his health. While the prince was regretting his actions, the queen laid in the middle of her room, still as stone and looking very pale. She wished they were never in that condition. In an attempt to find solution to the problem, Gbigbi called upon Mama Zudu, the greatest healer in the land. After examining the queen and the priest, the healer shook her head just like she had walked into a graveyard. "This is not sickness. This is a wound from the gods," she said, her voice trembling. Fear spread through the village like wildfire. Mixed feeling of fear and anxiety flooded the entire village. For the very first time, the village became extremely calm as they lived in fearful anticipation of better days ahead for the Kingdom of Idumon. One evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon, Mama Zudu gave the king a very sad news. "I'm sorry, my king. By this time tomorrow, the queen and the prince will be gone, except the gods show mercy." King Gbigbi was filled with grief. His only son, the heir to the throne, was slipping away, and there was nothing he could do. His lovely wife, the one who stood beside him in good and bad times, was drifting away before his eyes. What a sad moment for the great king. Shortly after dawn the following morning, a thunderous voice echoed through the palace gates. It was the chief priest of Idumon, a tall, fierce-looking man with the staff of power in his hands, and his beard as white as snow. He stormed into the king's chambers, his eyes burning with anger. "Your Highness," he said, "the problem of this palace lies within this palace. The gods are angry. The queen and the prince are dying because of a sin that had defied the land." The king trembled. "What sin?" he asked, his voice weak. The chief prince looked around, but he couldn't find Princess Okoko. With his face as red as a beetroot, he stormed out of the palace, and that was when he saw her. He looked at Princess Okoko angrily and then said in a loud voice, "Confess your evil, or the entire palace will fall. After the queen and the prince, You will go next, and then the entire village will be wiped away from the face of the earth." The entire court gasped. All eyes turned to Princess Okoko. Her body shook like a leaf in the wind. Her lips trembled. "Yes, we did it. We were blinded by our emotions," she said in a very sad tone, and that was the beginning of a confession that got everyone amazed. She spoke of the secret nights, the whispers, the sinful love between her and her brother. As her words spilled into the air, gasps turned to cries of horror. The king staggered back, his face pale. The elders clutched their chests in disbelief. The chief priest turned to King Gbigbi and said, "This evil happened before your bare eyes, but you could not see it. The gods demand that you alone must go to the Forest of Zundu and retrieve the Sap of Cleansing. If you do not return before sunset, the queen and the prince will not see another sunrise." A heavy silence fell over the palace. The Forest of Zundu was no ordinary place. No one who had entered had ever returned. But King Gbigbi was a father before he became a king. He was a husband before he was crowned king. He would not let his wife and son slip away. He was determined to save them, and so he accepted the challenge. Dressed in his royal robe, with nothing but courage in his heart, he set off into the forest, where death awaited all who dared to enter. He got to a point where the forest became dark and scary. Shadows whispered and the ground swallowed footsteps, but the king journeyed along with so much confidence. At a point, a river of fire blocked his path. The spirit demanded a sacrifice. Just beside him, he saw powder on top of a rock. He took some of the powder and said, "Great Spirit, I come in peace. You can see through the heart of men. You know I have never hurt anyone since I was born. Please, I need to save my wife and my son." He sprinkled the powder on the river. The moment the powder touched the river, the fire disappeared, leaving a pathway for him to walk through. Suddenly, he was surrounded by mountains of thorns. The mountains blocked his way, and the only option was for him to climb. He climbed with bloodied hands and eyes full of tears, but with no regret. While climbing, he was bruised by the thorns, but he never focused on the bruises. His focus was on the mountain. The moment he climbed over the mountain, he met a fierce-looking lion, whose roar alone can terrify an entire village. With the speed of the light, the lion attacked, but the king was ready for the fight. As the lion leaped towards him, he avoided his claws and hit his jaw so hard with his fist. The weight of the punch broke the jaw of the lion and sent the animal to the ground. The wounded lion became furious. His attack became more deadly, but King Gbigbi's experience as a hunter made the battle easier for him on that day. The thought of saving his wife and his son gave him strength to withstand the attack of the dangerous lion. The battle continued till King Gbigbi started losing strength. Although the lion was wounded, it maintained its strength. The animal started overpowering King Gbigbi as they fought from the mountain to the forest. The lion finally struck the king down, and he became so helpless. To the lion, the battle seemed to be won. While the lion and the king were fighting, the queen and the prince were also battling with their lives. The princess lay beside the prince, crying and weeping like never before. It was so sad. Her emotions led them to the ugly situation. The chief prince was sad. The sun was about to set, and the king wasn't back. He felt there was nothing anyone could do. He took his staff, got ready to leave, but as he approached the door, King Gbigbi stumbled into the palace, bruised, battered, but very much alive, and holding the sap that would save his wife and his son. The chief priest stepped into action the moment he saw the sap. He hurriedly performed the rituals while the palace stood still in anxiety. As the first drop of the sap
touched the prince. His eyes opened. Behold, he was healed. The chief priest hurriedly went to the queen and also did the cleansing. Just like the prince, the queen got healed after the ritual. The great healing brought jubilation to the Kingdom of Idumon. The entire village celebrated the great redemption in a grand style. They celebrated the bravery of their king all over the kingdom. As the village was celebrating, King Gbigbi sat on his throne and recalled how he escaped the dangerous lion in the forest. He remembered how the lion struck him down and how helpless he felt at that moment. As the lion roared in victory, the king thought he had lost the battle. Suddenly, a multitude of eagles flew in from nowhere. They all attacked the lion like bees. The lion tried to defend itself, but the attack was too much for the already wounded animal. At last, the eagles blinded the lion before they flew away. By that time, King Gbigbi was already a long distance away. While the lion was roaring and running blindly into the bush, King Gbigbi, in spite of his bruises, continued the journey to his desired destination. Finally, he got to the tree at the extreme of the forest. The leaves were shining and the sap of cleansing was as beautiful as gold. Everything about the tree was glowing and very attractive. The sap was dropping from the tree, and so it was very easy for King Gbigbi to get the quantity he desired. After he took the sap, he turned around and ran back home as fast as he could. King Gbigbi remembered the incident that saved his life with a great relief and joy. He knew without the eagles, he couldn't have made it back home. For that reason, he had so much respect for the eagle. From that day, the symbol of an eagle is always on his crown, on his throne, on his door, and even on the walls of the palace. The Kingdom of Idumon would never forget the dark shadow that once loomed over his royal palace. The sin of the prince and princess became a lesson passed down through generations, a reminder that no secret can remain hidden forever, and no wrongdoing escapes the eyes of the gods. After the ritual cleansing that day, the prince regained his strength completely, but the trust in the royal bloodline was forever shattered. The king and elders of Idumon, in their wisdom, declared a new law. From this day forth, no prince and princess shall be raised together in the same palace. They shall live apart to prevent the evil that once defied this kingdom. Indeed, two separate royal homes were built, one for the prince at an extreme of the village and another for the princess at the middle of the village. The story of Prince Ikiki and Princess Okoko spread far and wide, serving as a lesson for all. The people of Idumon never forgot the evil relationship that once existed between Prince Ikiki and Princess Okoko. They never forgot the day their king walked into the Forest of Zundu, nor did they forget the warning that even the mightiest rulers are powerless against the will of the gods. The story was told to remind the people that no secret can be hidden forever, and that forbidden desire brings destruction. The story also taught people that parents need to always be vigilant when it comes to their children, especially when they are young, and that true leadership requires genuine sacrifice. Kindly subscribe to this channel for more interesting, exciting, and captivating stories. Do well to like and share our videos while you drop your comment so we can create more beautiful and exciting stories for your entertainment.